What if I told you that you could land at a spot that gives you up to 9 chests with no competition? With the new transporting rifts in Season 5 of Fortnite, it's definitely possible. In fact, I'll show you proof of how it's accomplished by the end of this video. So the topic at hand are some new points of interest on the map, which are the giant stone heads. And these are actually called Moai heads in real life. They were often facing away from the ocean and towards villages as if to watch over the people. To me though, some of them look like the dad from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Now there's a total of 7 of these giant stone heads located throughout the map, and each of them can spawn up to 3 chests in total. As per usual though, there can be no chests, 1 chest, 2 chests, or even the 3. It just depends on how many spawn. In addition, these stone heads can potentially spawn the new rift portals right next to them. I should note that this is not always the case though, but more than likely there's going to be at least 1 rift nearby and sometimes even up to 3. In addition to the chest spawns, each stone head is worth up to 83 to 125 brick, which is incredibly valuable considering you can destroy one relatively quickly. I'm not sure why the values seem to fluctuate all over the place, but I destroyed over 20 of these for data purposes. But even when striking the circle precisely each time, I once got back 83 brick and other times up to 125. Regardless, that's a lot of brick for minimal effort. So I'll be showing you all 7 locations on the map as well as a few tips to utilize both the heads and the rifts. The first of the 7 is found just northeast of Greasy Grove, which is here on the map. It's in a rather secluded spot, which makes it a great landing spot before traversing into Greasy Grove. Now oddly enough, there's a chair seated at the very top of this statue, and the head itself is surrounded by a circle of rocks. These rocks make this location a bit more brick friendly if you take the time to destroy the head as well as all the rocks. The second statue is found just to the west of Grandma's house. There's a small mountain that has the head situated on the top of it, and this statue has a station wagon on the top of it. Now since this head is perched on top of the mountain, you can expect a lot of the loot to escape your fingers and slide down, which is a bit frustrating. To avoid this, you can build a flat platform right next to the chest to prevent it from dropping below. The third statue is perhaps the most isolated one since it's so far south on the map. You can find it west of Lucky Landing right next to the bridge on a small cliff. Now this is probably the best one to land on top of initially, as one of its potential 3 chest spawns is directly on top of the face. Otherwise, you'll have to build your way up and waste a few materials. And like the one next to Grandma's house, your loot can drop down the side of the cliff upon opening a chest. So just like before, simply build a flat platform to avoid this. Next up is a heavily populated one since it's in the center of the map. You'll find this stonehead a bit northwest from Dusty Divot or just a bit southeast from Loot Lake. Now this is the one that looks like the dad from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And there's 4 wooden logs in front of it, which makes for some good easy lumber. And this one is also great to land at initially. Otherwise, there's a great chance it'll be looted by mid-game since everyone traverses near it when the circle moves. The next statue can be found on the northwest side of the map, just a bit southeast of Junk Junction and north of Pleasant Park. Now this guy has a bunch of plants around him, along with one directly on top of his head. Of note, when you break this face, his poor little ears get stuck floating in the sky. So be sure to break those as well to get the full extent of the brick. The next statue is the least known out of all 7 in my opinion. And this is because it's surrounded by a group of trees, so it's somewhat hidden. You can find it just northwest of Tomato Town. In addition to potentially 3 chest spawns, the 7 trees surrounding it can give you up to 250 wood, which makes this the most material sufficient drop. You'll come out of here with over 100 brick and wood instantly, which if paired with decent loot from the chest, puts you at a great advantage right off the bat. Now the 7th and final head statue is my absolute favorite. You can find it just west of Lonely Lodge on the larger of the 2 hills, and it's surrounded by 4 medium-sized rocks. It's my personal favorite because it reminds me of a slimmer version of the Kirby character from Nintendo. In addition, he has a great view overlooking Retail Row, as if he's protecting them and keeping watch. So those were all 7 locations of the Moai statues. Now before I show you them all on one map, let me briefly mention a quick tip. Don't be afraid to utilize the rifts nearby in a pinch provided they spawn. For example, they make great escape routes should you find yourself pickle-ricked. If you notice others landing at the same stonehead as you and they beat you to a chest, jump into the rift to avoid an early death. If you've never used one of these rifts before, they simply poop you out directly above the rift itself, except incredibly high in the sky. And this can obviously also be used to outrun a bad circle drop. For example, I've landed at the statue head in Lonely Lodge, only to have the first circle be all the way west. Using the rift can instantly put me within walking distance in no time at all. So here's all 7 locations on a single map. As you can see, they're pretty decently spaced out. The major outlier is the one on the northwest side of the map near Junk Junction. However, as I mentioned at the start of this video, there's a way to potentially get up to 9 treasure chests in no time at all. It's possible to use the rifts to move from statue head to statue head if you know where they are and use the rifts efficiently. For example, if you land at the Greasy Grove head, you can rift to the one west of Grandma's house. From there, you can rift down to the Lucky Landing one. Likewise, you could rift from the Lonely Lodge head to the Tomato Town one, and then the Tomato Town one to the one near Dusty Divot. Like I said earlier though, the Dusty one is likely to be landed at already. Still, the possibility of hitting multiple stone heads at once is there. Of course, you have to also remember that sometimes the rifts don't spawn, so you may eventually get stranded at one using this strategy. And that, as they say, is that. These 7 Moai Head statues make great initial landing spots due to the potential of up to 3 chests and a boatload of brick, as well as wood at some of them. In addition, the rift spawns heavily favor these statues, which can allow you to glide over to other heads, escape a potential disaster, or maneuver closer to the next circle. Now there's no telling if these will remain on the map beyond Season 5, or even if a mid-season update will replace or destroy these locations. So be sure to utilize them to their full potential while they're currently available. Now to end this video, I'll show you a perfect case scenario where I went to 3 heads in a row using the rifts and then emerged victorious as a result.